Hey guys, what's going on? I know it's been about, well, 9 days since the last video that I did. Again, for those of you that don't know, my life is just very busy right now. I was intending on recording this before the patch notes landed. We all usually get given some patch notes under embargo, which we then create videos for so that we can release them at the same time as the patch notes go out. But my boys didn't go to sleep until about 8 p.m. and the patch notes were due out at 9 p.m. UK time. So there was no way that I was going to get it done. So I just had to lie down for about an hour. And then I said to Emily, I was like, I need to record this video. If I don't record this video, I'm gonna feel really bad. So I did it anyway. Thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There is a reference link in the description below. I'm hoping the second half of September I will be able to get some more videos out. Not only for your sake, but also for poor G2A's sake, who put up with me and my really bad upload schedule. I don't know if I'll ever get back to normal. You know, I think it really depends. Maybe when the boys are a bit older. But right now, my life is just so dominated by work and children that it's difficult. It's really difficult. Like the few fleeting moments that I get to myself, I'm generally playing some Hearthstone Battlegrounds on my phone, lying down on the bed, desperately trying to get at least a small amount of rest into my aching bones. But yeah, look, 3.4 is a really big patch. I know you guys might have seen a lot of other content creators talking about it, and so I do want to kind of go through it and give you my thoughts. There's a lot that you will have seen from my previous videos, and because the size of this patch, I'm not going to go into everything in like super detail. You guys probably know that the new champions that are coming out are Gwen. If you don't know who Gwen is kind of like a mix of an AP duelist, AP assassin. I feel like she's kind of busted. She's coming out tonight, so you'll be able to play Gwen basically as soon as possible, but she is, in my opinion, kind of nutty, so I'm expecting her to be sort of very high priority in solo queue. Her kit is just very strong, and I think she's going to be very, very good because she kind of thrives in teamfight situations as well. I think she's going to be really good in wildrift. Also, it's an AP champion in the top lane that isn't bloody Kennen, so you can play someone in the Baron lane that isn't Kennen when your team needs an AP threat. I also think she might even be able to jungle, but we'll have to see. Yone is coming out next week. You guys are probably super excited about him. He is essentially Yasuo 2.0. Similar vibe to Yasuo, built in a relatively similar way, although less on crit. So he's very, very strong, and you guys will probably love him as well. Like Gwen and Yone are two very fun champions. I do think Yone will be, again, another high priority pick. He's less reliant on team comp than Yasuo, but can make similar kinds of plays. And also just it is easier to play into like heavy CC as well, because you have lots of ways of keeping yourself safe in these situations. New features. So again, we're making updates to champion score. Previously, you were only able to earn mastery for the champions you played, but now you'll be able to earn mastery for each role you play. There are 5 different tiers. Each tier will have a different color icon. The score will be displayed on your profile page. Okay, so basically you're going to get mastery for the particular roles that you're playing. Cool. We're replacing the current form of GVG with a whole new guild season. While GVG will be gone, guilds will continue to be in the game. Trophy track is here to stay. Before GVG ends, we're having one last hurrah to celebrate everyone who participated. I think guilds are a good thing. I do think the GVG stuff wasn't quite hitting the mark. I think people didn't really interact with it and really just kind of hoped that their guilds would kind of complete it for them, and then they'd kind of like essentially pick up the rewards when they could. I know that's how that operated in our guild. Like, not many people used the GVG stuff to play together. If they did, it was usually by accident or just because they like playing ranked together anyway. So I think GVG was like a cool concept, but maybe didn't quite hit the mark for what it was supposed to do. So I'm very interested to know what they do. If I had my way, there would be kind of like a little bit like Diablo Immortal. Do you guys know how Diablo Immortal works? I don't really like the game that much just because it's ridiculously pay to win. But they have like set times in the week where a guild will enter into a queue as like a group. They'll match into another guild and they'll fight it out. That's kind of what I was hoping Guild vs. Guild was going to be. maybe that's the direction they take it. I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts on that, though, guys. Let me know what you think. Ping system. Pings are difficult to use, so adding new optional system. The aiming and targeting is different from what we currently have in this new system. Is something you'll be able to opt in. Okay, so new ping system. Have to try it out. Let us know what you think. I find the pings on the circle are easy to use. I find the pings on the side menu quite difficult to use accurately. Anyway, so maybe it's something to do with that. Kill banner. Currently, players who get the final blow on a killing flow get the credit for the kill with a banner, but often their teammate helped them get these kills. So this patch will order us adding assisting champions to the kill banners. Now your Leona who CC'd your foe for a year will also get the credit they earned. Okay. Just like a nice kind of, I guess, attribution thing. You'll now be granted more slots for items when building your custom loadouts. In-game, you'll be able to view your loadout in the shop, see the order you place the items in. You'll also be able to change out of any of the items in your loadout you need because of the team comp or the champion you're up against. That's really cool. Really love that. I do love the loadout system, but it you know, I want to have more flexibility in game with what I do with my loadout, so I don't have to then go and manually search for the item that I want if I'm changing things up. That's a really, really cool quality of life update. Wild Pass, you might have seen it. The superhero Jason skin is super cool. I'll let you read this because you know the Wild Pass system is kind of like an opt-in for some people. You know, some people are going to buy it and some people won't. I'll always buy it, but there we go. Game modes. So there is a 1v1 game mode, and this is something that League PC were asking for a very long time. Kind of interested what they do with this game mode. You'd feel like adding more queues to the game is a bad thing in terms of ranked matchmaking and queue matchmaking, but I'm interested to see how this one floats. I love the Yu-Gi-Oh reference as well. In order to claim the victory, you must kill the enemy champion 2 times before the shrinking circle appears. Kill the enemy 1 time after the shrinking circle appears. Destroy the first enemy turret. There will be a shrinking circle. It spawns 8 minutes into the game. The initial radius of the shrinking circle will cover the whole map. It will wait 30 seconds, then it will begin shrinking. The circle will complete shrinking at 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and the final radius is 5 meters. There will be continuous damage if you're outside of the circle. Once the shrinking circle appears, the next death by a champion will end the game for the killer's victory. All champions are unlocked. Omnivamp is reduced by 50% against minions. Recalling to the fountain will allow you to purchase items. Each player starts with 500 gold. Gold and experience are increased. Very good way to test your mechanics. Great way to test laning phase stuff. I wonder if they're going to add rewards to this, or whether they'll give like specific like banners or titles for people that kind of have very strong 1v1 performances. But I'm kind of interested to see how this picks up and whether there's just a meta that appears that's just way too good. You know, I'm expecting champs like Vigar to be absolutely useless in 1v1 because you're never going to get the time to stack, and you're going to get beaten out by, you know, strong laning champions like Zed, for instance. Or, you know, strong post-5 laning champions like Zed anyway. So, but I'm interested to see how people kind of approach this game mode and see what they do with it. ARAM. You can only use rerolls in champion select. The free rerolls still recharge as they always have to store up to 2 ARAM rerolls. After you use up all your free rerolls, you'll be offered the option to purchase extra rerolls with Poro energy. You cannot use more than 2 rerolls per game, so you have to use the free ones first. Blah, blah, blah. Basically free more rerolls if you want them, which, I mean, if you want to spend your Poro energy on something, then this, you know, if you're a strong ARAM player, high elo ARAM player, this might be really important to you. And so we've updated the title names: ARAM Brawler, Warrior, Elite, Royalty, and Legend. Okay. There'll be an event when Yone comes to the game. Akali. I've been struggling to make her good. So, her health is going up by 30, and her energy gain in Twilight Shroud is going up ever so slightly. Well, not ever so slightly, a decent amount. It's like 25% increase in energy gain on Twilight Shroud. Small changes. I mean, the energy gain is more important than the base health increase. But Akali has got a significant buff on this patch for another reason, because of a new item that's come to the game. So I'm expecting Akali to be a high tier pick right now. Not only because of these buffs, but also because the item Rift Maker has been introduced, and we'll talk about that later. But these buffs in their own right, health, Doesn't mean a huge amount. The energy gain is more impactful. It's 25% increase in energy gain. But the most impactful thing for Akali is her itemization has got better. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Apparently, Jace is not strong enough. I can tell you, Jace is pretty good in high elo. So it's, again, small changes to Jace. Slightly increased mana recovery, I guess, in hammer form. And the cooldown on his Thundering Blow and Acceleration Gate is coming down by 2 seconds. Cool. Again, Jace is in a good spot, especially in high elo. He's being picked in pro play a decent amount. These are going to be some small changes that probably won't shift him too much where he is, and I don't think these changes are going to suddenly make players infinitely better at Jace. End of the day, his damage isn't going up a huge amount. He's getting a slight cooldown reduction on his Thundering Blow, which is a decent source of damage, but it's never really been his main source of damage, because like To the Skies and Shock Blast is generally where Jace deals the majority of his damage. So he's a small buff, probably not going to massively impact Jace. So, Jhin is now going to get a slightly quicker cast time on Deadly Flourish, but the root duration is going to go down by 0.25 seconds. So it's going to be slightly easier to hit. It's, well, what is that? Nearly a 20% increase in cast time, or decrease in cast time. Nearly, just under 20%. And the root duration is going down by 0.25 seconds. Similar to what they did to Vigard's Cage. They're just reducing that root duration. But, I do think Deadly Flourish is quite hard to hit. And because they're giving it higher reliability, they're kind of essentially making it last slightly short amount of time. This is a revert on the change that they did previously to increase the root duration. But I think this is a better change. I think making it slightly easier to hit is much more impactful than just increasing the root duration if you do hit it. Again, it's a small buff. I'm not expecting this to suddenly make Jhin super meta, although I did see a lot of Jhin over the last 2-3 weeks in my solo queue games, but I don't think he's a really strong AD carry right now. The meta doesn't suit him massively. Kayle sucks ass, and so she hasn't been scared. Yeah. Kayle does suck ass really hard. She's really bad. So let's see what they've done to her. Her Divine Ascent, so her passive hit damage is going up in terms of, down in terms of base damage. Wait, let me read this. Down in terms of base damage. So her base damage is coming down on Divine Ascent. Her Celestial Blessing heal is going up by 10. Her passive hit damage is coming down on stuff, and they're just nerfing her again. Here, let's nerf your on-hit damage for both Starfire Spellblayer and Divine Ascent. Let's give you a massive increase in your ultimate cooldown, especially your 3rd rank. But you could have 10 extra base heal on Celestial Blessing. That doesn't feel good. That's terrible. Kayle still dumps the tier. Absolutely, still dumps the tier. They really want Leona to be a thing. Have you noticed, guys, that they really, really want Leona to be a thing? She has been buffed patch after patch after patch after patch. They really want Leona to be a thing. Solar Flare, stun, and slow duration going up by 0.25 seconds. It's not going to suddenly make Leona meta. The thing about Leona is she is a support that thrives in certain metas. 1 second, guys. I need to turn off the... You're going to get a running commentary of my life again. I need to turn off the... I've got like these security cameras, and I was trolling my wife earlier when she came home by turning the siren on. Basically, my children weren't going to sleep, and Emily came back, and the first thing she does is go to the washing line, and I was like, no, come in here and feed Arthur, because I've been dealing with this baby rolling around the room for 2 hours now. Anyway, I was trolling her by, when she was trying to do the washing, I just started turning the light on and off on my camera, and also turning on the siren, which I'm sure she actually really appreciated. But it did work, and she did come in and help me with the children. So I would say that mission accomplished. Anyway, this is not going to suddenly make Leona meta. Leona is very specific to certain metas. When the meta is dominated by Yumi... Well, that's weird, because actually the meta kind of is good for Leona. Leona is good into enchanters, basically. Leona is really good into enchanters that want to take it slow. She's got a strong engage, and she's really good at fighting. I think the problem with Leona is it's quite easy to kill her. She doesn't feel tanky enough when she does go in for the engage. But, you know, in terms of the meta that is kind of dominated by supports like the Nami, Yumi, blah, blah, blah meta, she should be kind of good. She should be good. But maybe just for some reason isn't quite able to kind of make team fights happen for her and isn't sustaining herself long enough in team fights to be considered super meta. But, you know, ironically, she should be pretty decent into the current meta that we've got because Leona is generally considered an anti-enchanter engaged support, and we are kind of enchanter dominated with Yumi being a super strong support right now. But you know, maybe it just takes supports to pick her up and try her and see how it goes, but it just isn't something that high elo supports are doing much of right now. So I actually don't think Samira sucks. I actually think Samira is pretty good. They're giving her the classic base health and leveling scaling buff. She's getting about 140 extra at level 15. Not about, literally 140 extra at level 15. So that's a decent chunk of health. Base bonus magic damage is going up, scaling better. And the flare attack damage ratio is going up by 15% in the late game, which is a pretty decent increase in scaling. So these are decent buffs. I think Samira was already in a decent-ish spot. The thing about Samira is she's basically AD Katarina. So there are certain comps where she's just going to be really bad in, and there are certain comps where she's going to be really good. Any comp that Katarina's going to do well in, Samira's going to do well in. Any comp that Katarina's going to do badly in, Samira's going to do badly in, because they basically function the same way. You just need to have no CC and you can use your ultimate. But these are some good buffs of Samira. I expect she's going to be still a relatively strong pick. She was already a pretty strong pick. Like, a lot of people played her in Halo. Whether that was for the novelty or not, I don't know. But she's quite a hard champion to play, so you know, these might help out the mid to low elos a bit better than high elo, because I think I already saw her seeing a decent amount of success in high level play. Set has been falling behind. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that statement. I think Set hasn't been as top tier as he was previously. So they're giving him a 5% bonus attack damage ratio back on his Haymaker, which is nice because it means his Bruiser build is going to do a bit more damage in the center of, especially in the center of his Haymaker. So yeah, looking for. I think I like Set as a champion. I think this is a nice buff. It's not going to suddenly make him OP, but definitely might make him a bit more competitive. You know, might make him a bit more viable. Especially because that Bruiser build is kind of the only way you want to go. Like, tank Set isn't that good. We felt like our ultimate could use an upgrade to be a bit more exciting. To add some fire to it, we're swapping out the bonus health for Omnivamp. Okay, I mean, look, 100, 150, and 200 base health is pretty minimal, right? 15% Omnivamp is not. 15% Omnivamp is pretty insane. That is a spicy change. Definitely exciting. If Shyvana can get on you, she's just not going to die, right? She's going to have a ridiculous amount of vamp from her flame breath, her burnout. She does mixed damage all the time, so she's going to be generating a huge amount of healing from pretty much all of her abilities. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, she did get heavily nerfed in the last patch. You know, whether this is enough to suddenly make Shyvana meta again. I think the problem with Shyvana is that people kind of have figured out how they want to play against her now. So she's not able to just power farm the jungle and take over games. People have kind of figured that out now and are learning to play a bit more aggressively into Shyvana. There are also other junglers that do the same thing. And people have also learned that burst damage junglers are quite nice into Shyvana because, you know, they can take her out pretty quickly. Like things like Gragas's, people picking Vigars, they just know that if they burst Shyvana down, as soon as she uses her ultimate, then that's it. But that's a nice change to Shyvana's ultimate. It will make her more powerful in teamfight and in skirmish situations. So whether that makes her overall more viable, difficult to say. But you know, I think this is the type of jungler that's going to thrive in the middle level elo. So if you're like Platinum, Emerald, you're going to thrive on Shyvana because people don't really know how to play aggressive and counter her. You know, counter jungling isn't as frequent at those levels. So if you're looking for a solid, dependable jungler, like Shyvana's good at that level for sure. Sion has been stronger and more effective in the jungle than we anticipated. Really, I had not once played Sion jungle. We are cutting away some of that power. We're also smoothing out some of the bizarre interactions with Unstoppable Onslaught to make it behave more as a Sion player would expect. Please don't nerf my Sion. Bonus health from gaining minions and small monsters is down to 5. Bonus health from large monsters champions. So that is basically a nerf to Sion overall, just in general. He was gaining a lot of health, though, by the way, guys. I did notice that he was getting a decent amount of health. Decimating Smash monster modifier down 120%. Movement speed capped at 800 during Unstoppable Onslaught. Does that mean that in certain situations he was going faster than that? I don't know. You know, basically a small nerf to Sion in the lane, not massive, and more of a nerf to Sion in the jungle, which, frankly, I didn't know that many people that were playing a massive amount of Sion jungle. It's probably that the people that were playing it were posting very high win rates. But your health generation is taking a hit there, so I feel bad for me because I love playing tank Sion, and this is just, you would be able to stack up like 1,500 HP in a game very effectively, and you're essentially losing 20% of all normal minion generation, and then losing 25% on like siege minions and stuff. Anyway, Sion is not an S tier pick anyway, right? Sion is an A tier pick that you have to be as dumb as I am to want to play him in every single game. The Sion guide's coming when I get time to record it effectively. I've played like 40 games of Sion now. I bloody love him. He's not good into lots of matchups. Like, Sion has so many bad matchups that you wouldn't believe. But he's very, very strong in team fights. So, he kind of makes up for it later in the game. 1 second. Yeah, that's right. You've just got to deal with me doing something on my phone. So yeah, Tristana got some pretty big buffs with the explosive charge in the last game. They're bringing her cooldown back up on rapid fire, which I think is warranted, especially because people were kind of playing Navori quick blades. Because Navori quick blades is getting played frequently on Tristana, this 2 seconds not going to feel like 2 seconds. It's going to be a lot shorter than that. Tap casting will now prioritize turrets over minions. Tristana will now prioritize targets with her bomb. So basically, if you have a bomb on something, Tristana will prioritize targets that have her bomb on it with basic attacks, and if you just tap cast the bomb, it will go onto a turret over a minion, and I guess it will go onto a champion over a turret if a champion's in the range. I still think Tristana is going to be very strong. This isn't enough right here for me to feel like Tristana's not going to be good, because Navori Quick Blades builds is out there, and 2 seconds is going to get rapidly reduced because of Navori Quick Blades. So I still think Tristana, especially with Lulu, is going to be very high tier. Varus, attack damage growth is going up, so lethality Varus is still the one. AP Varus is still there. I still think lethality Varus is generally better. But yeah, lethality Varus is still kind of the go-to AD build. I don't think on-hit Varus is a thing yet, because Gwynsu's doesn't exist in this game. Yasuo is not doing well. I mean, I would probably agree with that in general. I think Yasuo is kind of in the hands of a Yasuo one trick does well, but everyone else feels kind of bad. He's getting some base attack damage per level. It's okay. It's, it will mean a bit more in the late game. Having 13 base AD plus the crit, etc. will mean a bit more in the late game, but it won't mean too much in the laning phase, and I'm not expecting this to suddenly shift Yasuo into a really strong position. It's a small nudge to keep him relevant, especially when things like Yone come out. That's a long piece of text. Should we read it? Yumi she's been frustrating for many players to go up against, but not particularly good at winning games. That's because she's hard to play. But the people that can play her well play her obnoxiously well. She also required a lot of in and out gameplay that Yumi players weren't attached to, so we're trying a different approach with the cat for this version. Yumi is no longer tied to her passive to restore mana, to fuel her massive mana cost for heal, but will generally have less power, particularly outside of combat. She will have a more frequent poke earlier in the game, but won't be able to use her passive shield to mitigate enemy harassment as much. The goal of these changes is to make Yumi less frustrating to play against, but allow Yumi enjoyers to feel more comfortable, enhancing the ally of choice. So pop and block. Cooldown is going up. The shield value is going generally down because of AP scalings. So still, the base values are what matters in the early game most of the time. So you're still going to get a decent shield in the early game. But with the cooldown going to 18 seconds, that is a 50% increase in the cooldown in the early game. So you're not going to get it as frequently. So you have to be a bit more selective about when you use it. Projectile is no longer gated by distance from your attached ally. Instead, it has a time-gated duration of 2.25 seconds only. The empowered threshold is down to 0.75 seconds. The magic damage is going down in terms of ability scaling, and empowered magic damage is going down in terms of ability scaling, and also dealing less percentage of the going down in base health, down in base damage, down in ability scaling, and down in target's current health. The cooldown, however, is coming down by a decent amount in the early game, but will scale to normal in the late game. In general, this is a nerf to Yumi's Q, which was, I think, was what they wanted. 2.25 seconds, however, I think means you'll have a bit more flexibility in how you use it, and you won't be as tied to how frustrating your ally is sometimes in terms of their movement. Not everybody is good with Yumi attached to them, and so therefore the movement can be a bit janky. In general, I think good change overall. It gives more autonomy to Yumis in terms of how they want to use this ability. It makes it less frustrating to use when you're attached to an ally that doesn't know what they're doing, but in general has less power, which I think is okay. You and Me. Bonus attack damage granted to Yumi and attached ally, coming down in the late game, just by a small percentage. Oh, sorry, up in the early game, but down in the late game for the... I need to figure this out. 7.5 times... 6, okay, so yeah, basically coming down in the late game. Bonus ability power is also coming down in the late game. Yeah. So generally, the ally that you're attached to is the scaling is coming down a little bit on their bonus stats in general. Mana cost on Zoomies is now just going to a flat mana cost and is not based on maximum mana. I'm guessing Yumi is going to get a passive mana restoration. Or does she already have a passive mana restoration? I don't know. I think she does. Movement speed is going down by 5% scaling. The heal is coming down by 30% ability power scaling, which is going to be... And the base healing's coming down by an absolutely insane. The healing now repeats the heal effects for the next 3 attacks or abilities within 5 seconds. This will affect Yumi normally, or if her attached ally of Yumi is attached. So basically, her initial heal is not going to be good, but you can get up to the initial heal by using abilities or basic attacks within 5 seconds. So I love this change because it means that in the middle of a fight, Yumi is not going to instantly restore a dumb fuck ton HP to the target that she's on. Excuse my language. She's going to give them a small burst with a bit of movement speed, which will allow them to kite or reposition, and then it's up to them to be able to use basic attacks and abilities to generate the rest of the heal. So it's a bit more intuitive. No, sorry, I guess a bit more agency to the person that's attached. And it also means that Yumi's less frustrating. If you're locking someone down and Yumi's on them, they're not going to suddenly get half their HP back when she uses Zoomies. You know, if you've locked someone down, they need to continue to fight, and that usually means making a decision between using basic attacks and abilities or running away. So if this means that if you're able to get onto someone who's got a Yumi attached to them, it's much more likely that you're going to be able to kill them, or at least they're going to have to make a decision between flashing and running or actually using their abilities. Really good change, and I think it's going to make Yumi less frustrating to play against. And actually, if I'm honest with you, I think it makes Yumi kind of garbage. But we'll see. You know, it definitely will be a pick that if you go onto an AD carry with very high attack speed, this is going to be great. Like, still Yumi Vayne, like Vayne can go invisible. She's going to get those basic attacks off anyway, so she's going to get that health restored. But in general, your average Yumi player is not going to be great because they've removed agency, or they've removed a loss of agency on your Q, but you've now got a loss of agency on your E. And that can be frustrating for Yumi players. But anyway, I think it actually significantly impacts Yumi and definitely makes her, I think, worse overall. Lowers her, in my view, quite far down in the support tier list. Maybe A tier, probably just close to S tier. It really depends. It's very difficult to say how this will play out in real time until we've seen it, but my inkling is that if you're able to get onto someone that's got Yumi attached and apply CC to them, they're going to die rather than surviving with a ridiculous amount of HP restored in one go from Yumi. So, you know, if you're able to get onto and lock down someone with Yumi on them, suddenly they are going to be significantly, and I mean significantly, easier to kill. That's my take. Not a particularly spicy take, but that's my take. Okay, so we talked about this before. 2 new support items coming to the game. These are basically going to allow extra forms of gold generation for support players and actually make playing support feel a bit more rewarding. It means that you are going to have hopefully a similar-ish gold income to the general spread of players, and means you'll be able to get more items and therefore feel more impactful as a player. My only worry is that we're going to see AP supports become more popular here, because the gold generation would be good enough for them to build a true AP build just by playing support. So I'm looking at you, everybody that likes to play brand support. But look, we need to test this out and see what happens. If you're familiar with support quest items in League of Legends PC, these will look familiar. These items transform over the course of the game as you earn gold with them. The Spectral Sickle is a tailor-made for support champions who excel at poking. And Spellcraft passive, which reduces the cooldown of the item's owner's enchantment by a large chunk when they score a kill or assist. So isn't that basically... Didn't something else do that, guys? Didn't an item do that? There was an item that did that not many people bought, and I can't remember the name of it now. It came out with Ixtali Seed Jar. There was an item that reduced the cooldown of enchants. Oh, when you applied CC, not when you got a killer assist, but surely this is just more powerful. Anyway, 500 gold, so you buy it at the start of the game. You either get 12 AP or 6 AD. So, you know, things like Pike, this is still fine. When near an allied champion, damaging abilities and attacks against champions and structures earn 30 gold. This effect recharges every 10 seconds to a max of 3 charges. So you want to proc it like at least 3 times every minute. Earn 50% less gold from killing minions and monsters, and earn a 100% bonus gold from nearby minions if your allies don't kill. So you're going to get the normal gold from nearby minions if no one kills it, and you're going to get an extra 1 gold per 3 seconds. So you're getting quite a lot of extra passive gold from this item. Earn 500 gold from this item to upgrade it to Harrowing Crescent. You're going to get 12 attack damage or 25 ability power, so a small amount, not a huge amount. While near an allied champion, you're still going to get the gold generation. And if you earn 500 gold again, you're going to get Black Mist Scythe. Black Mist Scythe, 10 ability haste and 40 ability power or 20 attack damage, so a decent amount, but not a huge amount. You're going to get 2 golds per 3 seconds as a passive, and kills and assists against enemy champions refresh the total cooldown of your enchantments by 40%, which is pretty cool. Very insane. And especially because we're getting some new support enchants items, this could be something, you know, very interesting to pay attention to. Definitely, obviously, going to be the item of choice for any kind of enchanter or poke support that deals a decent amount of damage. This is basically the version for tanks. Spores of War. While near an allied champion, attacks consume a charge to execute minions below 50% or 30% if range of their max health. Killing a minion grants you 125% of the kill gold, grants the nearest allied champion 100% of the kill gold, and heals you for 15 to 65, which is a decent amount of chunk healing. This effect recharges once every 20 seconds, so again, want to try and use it 3 times a minute, earning 50% less gold from killing minions and monsters, blah blah blah, same thing as previously. 150 health and 5 ability haste. So ranged champions can use this, by the way. There might be some ranged champions that, you know, you're playing that the health is more important to you, or the health and ability haste. This is something like Pike, for instance. He can convert health into AD, right? So he might want to use this over the other one, which I think is probably pretty normal. Blah blah blah. Same thing. Upgrade it, and then also reduces the cooldown of your enchantments by 40%. But this instead is 200 health and 10 ability haste. Generally a tank support item, but people like Thresh will use it, and he counts as ranged. People like Pike might end up using this because just getting the extra AD and being, you know, a melee champion, you're going to get the execute, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so there we go. That's what I was thinking. Hextech megadrive is being removed. I think that not many people ended up using Hextech megadrive. It was quite a niche item. So I think they filled a similar role, and they kind of knew that. Meteor enchant. We're removing the damage from redeeming enchant. We know that gameplay, blah, 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 using the long range strike. So basically, pretty cool enchant. You can just throw down a meteor from the sky. Kind of interested to see who picks this up. It's, you know, for mages, you're still going to go stasis most of the time, right? So are there going to be AP supports that run this? You know, is a jungler going to run this? I don't know. It's interesting to see where this might fall into the meta. 2.5 second delay, so it's a decent amount of delay, a lot of time to flash out of this. A meteor, so you really want to be using this in like a hectic team fight. Dealing 25% of each enemy's health is magic. 25% of each enemy's health is magic damage. That's like a crazy amount of magic damage. Could you not just stack this? Is there a kind of a diminishing returns if you just stack meteor enchants and just start spamming them in the middle of a team fight? There's got to be a diminishing return on that, right? Like, if your team just runs like 4 meteor enchants and just like in the middle of a team fight spams meteor enchants so that everyone in the enemy team takes 25% of each of their health as magic damage. That seems pretty nutty. I'm hoping there's diminishing returns. This is an interesting item. I like it. I think it's really cool. That's a lot of magic damage. So does feel like it would be viable, and it's only 500 gold, so it's a relatively cheap, enchant overall. Protect. 500 gold. Grant the next heal or shield ability used within 3 seconds 100 to 25% increase heal and shield power based on its cooldown. Shorter cooldown spells get larger amounts of heal and shield power. Wait a second. Based on its cooldown. Shorter cooldown spells get larger amounts of heal and shield power. So I'm guessing that's because the longer cooldown spells are generally supposed to be more impactful in terms of healing. So let's say Soraka Ultimate. If you use this on Soraka Ultimate and you got like 100% extra effectiveness to Soraka Ultimate, that would be kind of broken. So I'm guessing that's why they've done it this way. 0 to 20 second cooldown, 100% increase heal and shield power. 20 to 40 second cooldown, 50% increase, and 40 second tracks the base value, so it's not scaled after ability haste. Okay. Athene's and Hojum. Yeah. Athene's was like super niche in my opinion. There are only a few champions in the game that could use this well, like Karma and Lux support being the two that really actually could use this properly. So I think, it was a little bit too niche in my opinion. Imperial Mandate is coming in to add a new and exciting mechanic that reward mages and enchanters for interacting with their opponents. Kindle Gem and Fiendish Codex. Ability power, ability haste, health. Abilities that slow or immobilize a champion deal 47 to 75 bonus magic damage and marks them for 4 seconds. Allied champions damage detonates the mark, dealing an additional damage and granting you both 20% move speed. That's a really, really, really good item. That's going to be very good for people like Lulu, for people like Karma, even maybe Janna if she can land a good tornado or use her W effectively. This is a very, very good item. And I expect to see this on a decent amount of enchanters that have slowing or immobilizing. You got to remember, like, Lulu, like, Q and W slow. Karma, Q slows, ultimate slows. Janna, Q immobilizes, W immobilizes. There's a lot of enchanters that do have immobilizing abilities in their kit. I'm expecting to see, and it's got great stats, and it's very cheap. So I'm expecting this to get picked up, maybe even as a first item for a lot of enchanters if they're not going for Athene. What is that item called, guys? The attack speed thingy with the shield. You know what I'm talking about. It's like way past my bedtime. Hextech Gunblade is going, which I think we already talked about. It's super niche. Only a few champions in the game use it. And so we're getting 2 new AP items that start with Cosmic Drive. Wildrift AP system is lacking a strong option for picking up ability haste outside of early mana itemization, so we're adding our own take on Cosmic Drive. So, 2,900 gold, so relatively decently priced. Good amount of ability power, loads of ability haste, and 5% movement speed. Damaging active abilities and empowered attacks on enemy champions grant 30 plus 70% haste movement speed decaying over 2 seconds. Subsequent triggers a Spellweaver refresh the buff duration and reset the movement speed value to the maximum. Each source has a 1 second cooldown. Only haste from items contributes to Spellweaver's movement speed. So this is like really good. Great for mages that want to keep their distance, like Oriana's, and even for AP assassins that want to stick to enemy champions more effectively. It's really, really, really good. I expect to see this get played. Great for AP champions that also want to kite a bit more effectively in team fights too. So yeah, really, really cool item. Offers great stats and a really useful passive. So I'm expecting to see this get picked up a decent amount. So Haunting Guise and Phoenix Code is quite an expensive item with 3,200 gold. Ability power 70, health 150, ability haste 15, and omnivamp 15%. So really good stats if you're things like Gwen and Akali, for instance. For each second in combat with champions, by the way, this is also a really, really good item for Kennen, because you can set up your ultimate, more effectively. For each second in combat with champions, deal 3% bonus damage, stacking up to 3 times for a maximum of 9%. When this effect is fully stacked, convert 100% of the bonus damage into true damage, which is 9% true damage on all of your abilities, which is really crazy. So yeah, Akali's first item, Gwen's first item. Any other AP kind of assassin, you might even see Gragas first items. I mean, I think Cosmic Drive is decent for Gragas as well, but you might even see Gragas first item with this type of thing. It's super, super strong. And yeah, I'm expecting to see it get played a decent amount. Umbral Glaive is gone because no one played it. And Serpent's Fang is coming in. This is an absolutely must-needed item, in my opinion. Shields are absolutely out of control in Wildrift, and that's what Serpent's Fang's coming in to do. It's 3,000 gold, so a relatively expensive lethality item. Attack damage, armor penetration, which basically is lethality. I think, anyway. I think they mean to write it as lethality. And haste 10. Shield Reaver, dealing damage to an enemy champion, injects them with venom for 3 seconds. Oh, it's got spicy flavor text. Reducing any shields they gain within the duration, melee for 50%, range 35%. And if the target was not already affected by the venom, reduces all of the active shields by the same amount. So you can basically cut shields in half with this item. People like, because Renekton doesn't have shield cutting in his kit like he does in PC. This is an item that, Renekton might go to, stun someone and also reduce their shielding to make them significantly easier to kill. This is another reason why Yumi is going to be harder to play in general right now, because shielding is going to be at risk. This is a great item for AD assassins that are fed up of Lulu and Janna and all those kind of things ruining their day because you can't ever get through the shields. It's going to make Enchanter life quite hard, especially if we have a rise in AD assassins. The people that are playing lethality right now, Lee Sins, you've got Zeds, Kha'Zixes, etc. The assassins that are pretty decent at killing off the individuals, they will make great use of this item, and it's going to make Enchanter life a bit harder. But I think that's good because we need to balance out the Enchanter meta just a little bit. This item alone might be enough to kind of make Lulu picks quite risky, if you know that you're going up against someone that's going to use lethality type items. Frozen Heart is getting extra 5 ability haste. It's an item that I feel like should be good, but just isn't really getting the playtime because it's essentially just flat armor, and there is already so much base armor in Wildrift that something like just a complete flat armor item that isn't Thormail, because Thormail is a bit more useful. It just doesn't feel good. I feel like you could maybe give Frozen Heart the Grievous Wounds passive as well, and then some people might think about it as an option. But it's so niche. It works. It's obviously a decent pick into like heavy attack speed AD carry comps, but even then, I'd much rather have the Bramble Vest / Thormail, and I'm never usually going to build Thormail and Frozen Heart because that is just too much armor, and you get massive diminishing returns. I would much rather have HP. So it's just that the problem is that when you have a choice as a tank between an item like Frozen Heart and an item like Thormail, you're going to go Thormail because it deals damage and also applies Grievous Runes. Frozen Heart doesn't always have a massive impact, and also is way too much armor that you just don't need that much armor. Excoundrel Siege is getting a 1 second growth time. This is the item that's getting played a bit more. The base stats are just really good for the cost, especially on tank supports. Locket enchant sucks, but then I guess it's a good counter into meteor enchant. So you might see it into meteor enchant. You might see it into heavy AP comps, Ziggs, for instance. But in general, that's a really sucky change for Locket. Protector's Vow. So that wasn't, yeah, okay. Protector's Vow is the item that. What is Protector's Vow, man? 1 second. I need to go into the app. Oh yeah, this is the item that I sometimes build on Braum, but that's about it. Okay, so they're getting a slightly increased. It's all just scaling off bonus health, and it's mostly for tanks. So you get a better scaling off bonus health. It prioritizes the lowest health ally, but you no longer get any movement speed. But the cooldown's coming down by 10 seconds, so you might be able to just cycle it twice in the fight. I think Protector's Vow is a decent item. I don't think it's bad at all. I think now that it scales off bonus health a bit more, you might see some tanks picking it up. But I'll try it out. I'll let you know what I think. Maybe if you ever see a video from me ever again, who knows. Redemption enchant, the delays come down by 1.5 seconds, and you're removing the damage. So you're just getting the healing, but it's going to be coming down a bit more quickly. Repulsor enchant. After knocking back an enemy champion, gain 30% movement speed for 3 seconds, and the cooldown's coming down. Such a niche item, still such a niche item. And you have to knock back a champion to get the movement speed. It's not like you could just press it and get the movement speed like a sprint in the middle of a team fight, which might be useful. It's so niche compared to the other enchants. Sunfire Cape has been a dominant pick, so we're reducing its ability to clear minions and jungle camps. What? But that's rubbish. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it means you push the lane less quickly when you've got Sunfire now. But I mean, that's a bit rubbish. I kind of didn't really feel like Sunfire needed a nerf. It's like tanks already kind of suck, and there's so many good ways to kill tanks in the game. Let's just make tanks worse. We're getting some ability power decrease, so essentially Madness is getting removed. Yeah, okay, so Madness is getting removed, but Haunting Guys is coming down in cost, and you're just getting a bit more bang for your buck in terms of ability power. Infinity Orb is getting a stat increase, but it's reducing the health, so it's going to be more specialized towards AP carries. 20 AP is no small matter, especially when you're going to have the critical strike damage for Infinity Orb, which is really nice. Looking like a scary item for things like Vigar, scary item for things like Katarina as well, probably a scary item for things like Akali. So, all the champions that are already good at executing champions are going to get much better with a 20 AP increase. Leandri's Torment. Build path is Haunting Guys and Blasting Wand. So the cost is 3,000. The ability power is... Are they supposed to have changed this? I don't know if they're supposed to have changed this. We'll have to see. Torment. The Madness pass is removed because that's gone over to Riftmaker. Dealing ability damage burns enemies, taking 20 plus 1.5% ability power plus 1.5% of target's max health as bonus damage per 1 second for a total of 3 seconds. So no longer needs a Royal Eyes to proc the double. 20 flat damage plus 1.5% of ability power. I'm thinking about like really ridiculous scaling Vigar builds where this is going to be feeling pretty insane. And 1.5% of target's max health is bonus damage. So it's a better standalone item, and no longer needs to be attached to either Royal Eyes or slowing abilities. So kind of cool. I think, as a poke item for poke style champions, that's definitely something to consider now. Morelos is getting an ability power reduction, and the stats are coming down because it is primarily an item that you pick up to just apply grievous wounds. That's generally why people pick Morelonomicon up. So I like that it's becoming a bit cheaper and more easily accessible. Prophet's Pendant, which is just the one of the items that build into Morelos, is getting a ability power increase, health removed, and some magic penetrations coming down. Okay. We are increasing or decreasing the cost of Rabadon's Death Cap, and it's building out of Blasting Wand and Needlessly Large Rod, which is an interesting change because it basically means that you can't pick up the power spike of 2 needlessly large rods before you get your Rabadons. So actually, before you combine Rabadons, you're going to feel a little less powerful. You're also getting 10 less AP on Rabadons overall. So a bit of a nerf to Rabadons, but the cost is coming down to compensate. Conqueror. Okay, it's just a tooltip changes. Minions have always been a difficult lever to balance around, as the jungler has little control over it. We're aiming to make leashing less viable, and we're balancing junglers based on them not receiving a leash. All lanes will now clash at the same time. Wow, okay. So you guys know that mid lane generally hits the wave first, right? You guys probably see that the generate mid wave hits the wave first. Baron and Dragon Lane are now also going to hit the wave at the same time. You can, like, I'm going to say this right now. You cannot leash for your jungler in this situation. You will lose too much lane experience, and you will straight up lose the lane if you leash for your jungler. Unless they start Krugs. You know, that's basically the only place that you've got to do it. Cannot stress to you enough. If you leash for your jungler now, you will probably just lose your lane. So if you go into a game on this patch and your jungler starts pinging you to leash, just say read the patch notes, because it is now you're going to lose too much in the laning phase if you try and leash for your jungler, just based on this description. So don't leash for your jungler. Omnivamp is now truly Omni. It will work with true damage in addition to physical and magic damage. Gain health, so basically true damage is included. Passive gold. Graceful Charity was a placeholder to help supports earn more gold. Okay, so they're removing Graceful Charity. So some of the gold per second generation is going to get taken away. Scryer's Bloom. Currently, mid laners can use the Scryer's Bloom to reveal junglers too early. Yes, they can. That's really annoying. To combat this, we're pushing back the spawn times so junglers can plan out their routes early game without worrying about revealed at their first camp. Yes, thank you. It was so annoying as a jungler to just have the mid laner walk up, use Scryer's Bloom, and like, he's at his red buff, and let's try and invade him. Not that it usually worked, but it was annoying. To better prevent scenarios where the player smites the wrong target during key fights over objectives, we're making a control adjustment. Smite will prioritize epic monsters while casted by a quick swip flick. What is a swip? Swipe. It means swipe, right? Smite will prioritize epic monsters while casted by a quick swipe. I need to figure out how that works, but now stealing and securing objectives is going to be, because I found that in the middle of a team fight, if I locked on to an enemy in the middle of a team fight around an objective, and then I smited them and not the objective, I was really annoyed. So this is a really nice quality of life change and very good. All right, I'm going to close it here, guys. I've got to go to bed, otherwise I am going to feel it in the morning. I will see you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in another 10 years for a video.